We're highlighting the Eastern South Carolina Alliance. Stay tuned to Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in Florence, South Carolina at the Bell South Building. We're focused on the Eastern South Carolina Alliance, and we're visiting with Mike Eades, the President and CEO of the Florence County Economic Development Partnership. Good morning, Mike. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg. Nice to be here.
Great opportunity to highlight not only Florence County, but also the Eastern South Carolina Alliance and so much of what's happening here in Florence, which is really the center of the Alliance in so many ways, albeit probably none of the other members of the Alliance would think of it that way. Can we talk real quick about yourself? Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm a native Virginian, but have lived in South Carolina on a couple of occasions for more than 20 years, so South Carolina is home to me now.
What other parts of the state have you lived?
I lived in Columbia for a number of years, for about 19 years, and then moved to Atlanta for 5 years, and then to Florence from Atlanta about 4 years ago.
Did you attend school in the Southeast?
Yes, I went to undergraduate school in Virginia, and then I did my graduate work at the University of South Carolina in Columbia.
Is that right? That's what brought you to Palmetto State. What did you do after graduation?
Initially, I went to work for the Greater Columbia Chamber of Commerce in their economic development program in their research area. And stayed there a little while and left and went to South Carolina Electric and Gas Company in Columbia. After that, I worked for what was then called the State Development Board, which is now called the South Carolina Department of Commerce. I was in their national marketing area. And then actually went back to the Chamber in Columbia and ran their regional economic development alliance called the Central Carolina Alliance. For about 5 years or so.
So you have intimate knowledge of how these alliances either are run or should be run.
I'd like to think I do.
Yeah, great. Well, you must be a great resource for Eric Jones and the alliance here, helping structure. And obviously all week I've asked folks how much research had been done on other alliances to try to pinpoint what some focus areas needed to be.
There was quite a bit of research done in setting up the Eastern South Carolina Alliance and looking at other programs around South Carolina and really around the country, but focusing principally on South Carolina and the Southeast as we were putting this alliance together.
Can you tell the viewers real quick how you came about becoming, taking on the position as Executive Director of the Florence County Economic Development Partnership?
Well, I was recruited to the job. The position was open. And I applied for it and was fortunate to be selected as the President and CEO about 4 years ago. It was quite an interesting opportunity. This was a startup operation. The Economic Development Partnership is still fairly new. We're about 4 years old. Prior to that, there was an Economic Development Authority here, and not much private sector participation and support for economic development, but the Economic Development Partnership is a true public-private joint venture between Florence County government and an organization that we call Florence County Progress, which is a not-for-profit membership corporation. And so we have both a strong public sector and a very strong private sector input into our programs and initiatives, and I think that's been the key to our success and will carry us forward into the future.
You'd think that the name of the partnership would explain exactly what it does, the Economic Development Partnership. Albeit all week we've talked to folks, the executive directors of economic boards or development boards in their counties. Is there a particular focus? Is there much like the other ones where there's a lot of focus of the industries already in the county?
Yes, I mean our focus is fairly narrow. It is to improve the economic well-being of the citizens of Florence County, number one. And you do that by attracting new companies. You also do it by helping the companies that are here survive and grow. And then the other thing you always need to pay attention to for both of those audiences is the assets that are required for business to be successful, and that runs the gamut from labor force to the basic infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, that type of thing. So that's a pretty narrow focus that our partnership has.
And can we talk real quick about your tenure of the partnership, how things have changed over the last 4 years?
Well, I think they've changed tremendously in as much as the first thing we did 4 years ago was to do a strategic plan for economic development for Florence County, the first one in the county's history.
And
is
that right?
It was most revealing, and it showed us where our strengths were, which are pretty obvious. I think geographic location and some of the obvious things. But I think more importantly, where our weaknesses were and what we needed to work on, and just to hit some highlights. One of the extreme weaknesses that was pointed out was the lack of adequate economic development product, meaning the real estate product in the county. And since that time, we have gone about aggressively improving that situation by developing new industrial parks, business parks, spec buildings, that type of thing, just trying to improve that product. And then there were a lot of other initiatives, but that just gives you an example of the changes that have been made. I think the other thing is we have placed a lot more emphasis on our existing companies, and that has really paid off for us in terms of companies expanding here as opposed to somewhere else.
Absolutely, and also using those as good references for
no question,
for prospective employers.
No question. They are our most important reference.
And you do use them often. How does that go about? I mean, at first you have to make sure, and that keeps you very busy, Mike. Make sure that they're happy about their presence here in Florence County.
Right. I mean, normally what happens when a new company is looking at the community, we will take them to our existing companies, and they will go in behind closed doors and meet with the management, and we sit outside and wait on them. And we feel that's the professional way to handle it, because I think our existing industries are more forthcoming, in that kind of confidential environment than they would be if I was sitting there with them. And we're not concerned at all about the stories that are being told and that type of thing, because I think we have a very positive relationship with our companies, and our companies are making money here, and that's the story we want them to tell to the potential newcomers. That's the bottom line.
I sure want to talk about how the partnership interfaces with ESA and how they're going to work well together, but really I want to get a sense, if you can give the viewers a feeling of what it's like from beginning to end, and in a very broad sense, how attracting a company, a potential employer to the county works.
Well, it's very intense competition almost always.
Yes.
Normally the first inquiry we get commonly would be from the Department of Commerce in Columbia, saying that they had a client that was looking for a certain amount of land, utilities, number of employees with specific skill sets and that type of thing. And we would respond to that inquiry, making a recommendation to the Department of Commerce. And then hopefully what we recommend will be selected by the client for further investigation, and they would actually come in and make a visit to the area. We would show them the physical assets, the sites and buildings and whatever they're looking for. Also make them aware of the training resources that we have here in South Carolina, and particularly in this community through Florence Darlington Tech. Talk with existing companies, that type of thing. And then after that point, it becomes a process of elimination, frankly, and the way you win in this business is by not losing, frankly.
Yeah.
Because it normally gets down to 2 or 3 finalist locations, and you can be confident that the cost, purely the economics of the equation, are pretty equal in those 2 or 3 locations. So it's other things that make the difference, and those other things are the receptivity of the community to the company. Do we act like we really want them? Exactly. Livability, right? But education, quality of life type non-cost issues that ultimately often make the difference. And close the deal. Those
warm and fuzzy type things that have to happen and have to be good reception by the potential employer. How do you know, Mike? You just don't know where you can take them that'll hit that hot button, where you'll see that
I think after, I guess I've been doing it long enough that I have a feel for it. And that's, I think, one of the key parts of this job is to be a really good listener, and understand what exactly they want. Try to match what you've got.
Is there any hot spot in the county that a potential employer has to see? Just something they have to...
Well, I think having the fact that we have I-95 running through Florence County, and business is always attracted to transportation arteries, and so that we see probably a lot more activity. Not probably, we do see a lot more activity for projects on that 95 corridor than we do elsewhere in the county. Although we are actively pursuing real estate development projects in other parts of the county, and I think that's another key. Is if you have quality real estate product, then it'll overwhelm some of the other factors, like being close to the interstate. Isn't as important as it normally is, for example.
Mike, when the Eastern South Carolina Alliance is fully underway, we'll be doing a great job continuing to market these 7 market counties, bringing folks to really take a pigeonhole look and take a serious look at the area. Trust then becomes an issue between the 7 member counties to make sure that everyone feels comfortable knowing that. How does that happen on a daily basis? When, having been in Columbia, really knowing how an alliance works?
I think the trust factor is extremely important, and the ability to maintain confidence is also another key issue. And because many of the companies that we deal with on a daily basis demand confidentiality, as they should. They don't want their competitors to know what they're doing. That's the most important thing. And then there's other reasons too. But I think the level of trust and the working relationships that we have amongst the 7 counties here is going to be the key. And certainly there'll be instances where we will be competing, probably. But I think our competition is really external more than internal. And we in Florence County, I'll just say this, that we look at it as, I guess, as enlightened self-interest, that whatever good happens in this part of South Carolina is good for us, and we know that. And so we're very supportive of our surrounding communities and counties.
We've got one last question, Mike. Can you tell the viewers real quick what you like best about Florence County?
Well, I think what I like best is the people here. I found a really can-do attitude amongst the business people in the governmental, the elected officials, city, county, very, very much a can-do attitude. It's not, they don't look for ways not to do things. They look for ways to get it done. And I think that shows to our prospects and to our existing industry that Florence County is aggressive, but in a professional way. We're not, we're not out to just bring any kind of business to this county. We, number one, we have to take care of the ones we already have. They're the most critical thing. They're the ones that brought us through the dance, so to speak. And I think we do it in a professional way. But I think the people of this county and this area in general are just really can-do, hard-working people that want to do the right thing.
Definitely. It's doing the right thing and the can-do attitude of people here in Florence County that make Mike Eades' job just that much easier. President and CEO of the Florence County Economic Development Partnership. Mike, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Good to be here.
Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're in Florence, South Carolina, at the Bell South Building. We're focused on the Eastern South Carolina Alliance, and we're visiting with Cherry McCoy, the Executive Director of the Chesterfield County Economic Development Board. Good morning, Cherry. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Incredible opportunity highlighting the Eastern South Carolina Alliance, but also Chesterfield County. That's a county that a lot of viewers within our viewing area have either been to or have spent some time over the years. I've never been to Chesterfield County, and would love it. In just a minute, you can give a flair of what the county offers and what viewers who may have the opportunity to travel up there could see. But real quick about yourself, are you originally from the area?
Actually, I was born in Charleston, but moved briefly to Charlotte and have been in Chesterfield County since I was 3. So I've been there a lifetime.
Golly, since age 3. That's spectacular. Have you left since you?
No.
You've been there the whole time. That's
the whole
amazing.
Time. Raised 2 children there.
Is that right? Great. And how long have you served as the executive director there in the county?
I've been with the county for 8.5 years. Before that, I was in banking for 20 years, and took a little sabbatical after my banking career. Went back to Francis Marion and got my degree in teaching. And as soon as I got the degree in teaching and passed the NTE, this job came available and took it.
Is that right? Was that experience at Francis Marion helpful to lay the groundwork to make this a successful time?
I think education is never wasted. I feel like that, well, in fact, a 4-year degree was required for the position.
And the position became available. Had they had a previous executive director, or was this a newfound partnership?
No, there had been 2 directors before me, and Chesterfield County is a rural county, and quite frankly, that it was used for a stepping stone to larger positions.
What kind of training program would you take in order to be able to lead oftentimes your experiences in banking in Chesterfield County, either in Pageland or in McBee there, experiences in banking and then that degree in teaching? Is that a normal avenue that folks would take?
You'd be surprised with the number of educators that switch over to economic development. I don't know if there's any particular reason, but the banking experience has helped a lot, because almost every company that comes to you needs money or needs some creative financing, and so that's come in good. But I also attended EDI, which is the Economic Development Institute in Norman, Oklahoma, and for 3 years just specifically for economic development. There's a lot of things that don't fall under the education and financial areas, and you have to take care of the sewer problems too.
Definitely, very definitely. Education ties in so much to a business community. Some of the decisions, Mike, who was on right before you talking about education being such one of the almost a warm and fuzzy thing that you can't quantify. Businesses are thinking about economic prosperity and how the numbers are going to work when deciding on a county, but also they have to feel good about the community, and surely education ties into a great degree of the workforce and who they'll bring in and how the children will be trained.
Well, not only is it important in the relevant skills, for their workforce, but these folks are going to live here and their kids are going to be educated here. So, those things are also considered.
Sherry, when did you first become aware of the Eastern South Carolina Alliance?
Well, I was one of the original troopers. The economic development directors from the 7 counties met quite often, most of the time monthly, for a couple of years before we, just in laying the groundwork and building the trust and the relationships that we would need to make it succeed.
And you feel good about the idea for this program?
Well, I think regionalism is the only way to go. With all of our budgets shrinking, you have to pool your dollars and try to get more bang for your buck.
And have you been in contact with other economic development offices or other alliances to check some of their experiences, pros and cons, before really getting the alliance underway? We
did. We saw some very good success stories with the Charleston Regional Development Office and Central Carolina, and actually because of us, Chesterfield County being such a big county, we are actually members of 2 alliances.
Is that right?
We belong to the Charlotte Regional Partnership also, because my county, certain sides of my county has real strong ties to Charlotte, and the other side has strong ties to Florence. So we see a lot of fruits of our labor from both alliances.
I'm sure. Having been the executive director for 8 years now, I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes in economic development in Chesterfield County and throughout the Carolinas themselves. Can you talk real quick, just over the last 2 or 3 years, about some of the changes in economic development?
Well, I think that in the site searches themselves, there's a lot more dependence on internet, a lot more focus on having quality websites. ESA is in the process of launching a new website for our region. I think it's very important. A lot of site consultants may evaluate you and never give you a call, so you have to put a lot of focus on that. And the time frames are a lot faster than they were earlier.
Right. And the companies, how do they search potential websites? How do they get out there? How will they cross-reference ESA's website, for instance, or how will ESA go about making sure that it comes up? Folks first have to look at the Southeast, and they have to look at South Carolina, then they have to bypass other alliances' websites. How do they get to, how will they get to the ESA website?
Well, all of the information has to be virtually at their fingertips. We'll have to maintain databases of sites and buildings. We'll have census-type information, wage surveys and salary requirements and things like that, so that they would be able to do those comparisons, because you'll just come out to a spreadsheet is what it amounts to, and then when you get down to the final numbers, some of the quality of life issues will come in, but you're just numbers to begin with.
Sherry, you could probably speak much better than most anyone, any of the folks we've talked to this week about their membership in the Alliance, because of your experience with the Charlotte Alliance, and when we talk about some of the benefits that you expect when ESA is fully underway and roaring along, some of the benefits that Chesterfield County will derive from the partnership. With the experiences from the Charlotte partnership, how is that recognized in one part of the county, and I assume that has some tie to the rest of the county?
Well, it is. It's countywide, and both of them, I think the whole county will benefit from both alliances, but the Charlotte Regional Partnership is a mature organization. It's been around for about 10 years. We've only been a member for 2 years. And, we see joint marketing missions. We see a lot of marketing campaigns. It's a lot of regional concepts and image building as a part of their strategy. That and of course, they have the databases, too. So it just gets our profile out in front of more people.
Yes. And Sherry, that ties into an issue we've heard about all week, which is after a potential employer or potential industry coming into the area finds out about ESA, then they've got to figure out which of the 7 member counties they're going to be looking at. And trust is a buzzword there. How does that tie in with the 2 years you've experienced the Charlotte partnership? How does trust, particularly since you're in an adjacent state, albeit Rock Hill and some other areas outside of Charlotte, and very much Chesterfield County is a part of that greater Charlotte area. How will trust come into play, and have you given the other members, other 6-member counties, some experiences that you've had in the Charlotte side as to how trust has worked in your favor?
Well, you have to build trust, and that's why our 7 county directors spent so much time working out those issues before we actually launched everything. We've not had any problems with Charlotte. If it starts out as being a Chesterfield County project, then it stays a Chesterfield County project. And that's the same way it works with the Department of Commerce. You just have to have a lot of trust involved, and you have to have trustworthy people, or it just won't work.
How do you describe to prospective employers Chesterfield County's attributes? Can you give the viewers an idea of how you go about, what are some of the hot spots, some of the things that a potential employer would have to know about the county to really feel like they've gotten some feel of the county?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that we have the most jobs, manufacturing jobs per capita in the state of South Carolina.
Is that right?
And we always point that out. And we try to show a mixture of some of the quality industries that we do have. We do have quite a few Fortune 500 companies.
Really?
We try to showcase those. We try to showcase our school system. We're very proud of it. and some of the historical districts that we have and quality of life issues. The middle of Chesterfield County is a wildlife refuge, so there's lots of hunting and fishing and things like that. So just a mix.
That's spectacular. I wasn't aware of that. I'm glad you laid that out, and that ties into some of the developments or some of the experiences, successful experiences, the Economic Development Board has borne for Chesterfield County. Can you tell the viewers real quick about some of those success stories?
Well, over the past few years, we have successfully recruited a Walmart distribution center in Pageland with 900 employees. We have a new Combraco Industries in Pageland that employs 300. Our largest industry is ENA USA in Cheraw, and they have, over the past couple of years, invested $50 million and added a couple of hundred jobs and plan to do even better next year. So we've had lots of expansions from around the county and really a good mix of development throughout the county.
Sure. What do you like best about Chesterfield County?
Well, I think we do things creatively. One of the things that I'm most impressed with has been we are in the process and have been for 2 years of building 4 new schools. We're spending $2 to $3 million on every other school in the county, which will provide renovations and much needed additions. Every school in our county will have a similar look and feel, and all students will have access to quality science labs and computer technology areas. And we're doing that with a 1-cent sales tax, so there's no property tax burden for anyone. And with a rural population and a lot of industry that resists tax increases, I think it's a pretty creative solution.
Creativity is what Cherry likes best about Chesterfield County, and that ties into all aspects of life there. There since age 3, Executive Director of the Chesterfield County Economic Development Board. Cherry, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Linda Boone, Eric Jones, the Eastern South Carolina Alliance and its 7 member counties for making Carolina People such a great success.